it's Faye and Jeff from earlytrauma.com. Again, we're still in a series about team. Last week we had 3 videos on the pressures that families face that cause them to go into isolation. This week we wanted to give some handouts, some videos to help you understand how to empower your team. The first video was just simple redirections, simple statements your team members can use when they're working with your children. I want to go back and reinforce it's very important to have your team educated in the early trauma, the negative internal working model, to have a paradigm shift, and then we have a number of other things, TDCs and things, would love them to be educated in. But it's so important to have a foundation before they really start interacting with your child.
We want them to understand why you're doing the things as a caregiver that you are, and to be able to participate in those efforts, as opposed to the dangerous thing is when parents or support team members are uneducated, is that they'll actually start working in opposition to what the parents are doing.
Oh, they do, and then that also gives the child the ability to triangulate the adults and just totally divide one family. Or that comes to mind in this moment is how they really lost the support of the husband's parents because their daughter had turned them against her parents, and it was really, really difficult.
So one of the things we look for that ability to support the parents and what they're doing to encourage them with helpful ideas. Helpful being the key word. Once they have that knowledge of what the team effort is trying to do, then they can begin to come up with strategies and interventions that they might be able to see that the parents don't.
Actually, it becomes like planning sessions on, what to watch for when I'm starting to, as a mom, become too stressed, and when am I going to need you, or how can I avoid becoming too stressed. I think the blanket over all of this first is safety. My safety, child safety, your safety, everyone's safety in this process. We all know when we go limbic brain, when we get too scared, too mad, we do things that we shouldn't do. Our kids are notorious for having dangerous behaviors, and they can incite adults. It's very easy to lose our cool when we're faced with working with these kids. So we always have to keep safety in mind.
And you mentioned the planning session. So there's a couple different things parent or support team members can do to facilitate and help with those plans. First off, they can just provide a safe space by taking the child away, so that the mother or the primary caregiver has that ability to create a plan for the week. Where she can relax a little bit and say, this is what, maybe get together with some other team members and come up with a plan how we're going to handle what needs to be accomplished this week. Yeah. And of course they can, as we said before, they can actually also participate in that planning session and give some ideas.
Yeah, if you're working with professionals, they have to write treatment plans, behavior analysis plans, all of those bits and pieces, and it's so important to sit down and to see how effective they are, and then to make the changes necessary.
And this next one is tricky. It is because it's very, very hard to find someone that can fill this role on a team. Someone who can be trusted enough to actually facilitate as an outside pair of eyes the evaluation of the caregiver. How are you feeling like you can do this today? Do you need a break? You look a little frazzled, and it's this is a difficult position to fill in a team.
Oh, it is. Sometimes, maybe mom's mom or her sister, husbands, but you have to do it very diplomatically.
I'll keep quiet.
A good girlfriend, someone that we can trust their opinion and not become defensive, because they know us well enough that they know when we're on edge.
One of the things in the interactions with the child that a team member can do is the team member can encourage increased trust in mom. Increased highlight the security that this new mom is providing.
Yeah. Along with that, increased trust is to help the child have new understanding of mom's motivations.
Exactly.
So when the child says to grandma or the respite provider or whoever, Mom wouldn't let me wear my flip-flops to school today and I'm really angry at her, that's not fair. And the other person says,
Yeah. Well, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it's not because mom is bad. Maybe she didn't do it because you needed to wear your sneakers for gym class or something like that.
Yeah, then it is so helpful for parents to have those little pieces of support and for the child to have another person's perspective and supporting mom in that too.
And team members can provide this is your baby here, transitional objects to redirect back to mom.
Yeah, transitional objects are just simple things that cause one to remember the person tied to the object. When we were little, we probably had a favorite blanket or toy or bear that we carried with us. And, my one relative, she wouldn't even let her mom wash her blanket. And she needed it to smell like it did. So it's important for those transitional objects to go with the kids. If they're going to grandma's or a respite provider, or overnight, even at camp, to have, whether it be a blanket, a smell, a picture, something that a reminder of, especially mom and the family that they left behind.
I've worked with families already that provide a cereal that mom particularly bought for the child, and when they share that, then while the child is separated, but it still brings to mind mom is still here, mom is still part of my life, mom's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, especially with girls, it's been easy to use things like hand cream. Both mom and daughters use the same hand cream, and therefore the smell is consistent from one environment to the other. We don't want them to be afraid in the new environment. That we need that little piece that says, I still remember my family, my home.
Now, the next one, of course, we look at is we look at the family, or not just family members, but team members' ability to reduce the you suck messages that go to the child. What you don't want is you don't want a child to leave your presence and go to another team member and be able to be told there they suck. They're
Right.
bad kids.
Right.
What ends up happening there is they'll end up destroying that team member, because they'll use that team member to get those messages to
Right.
reinforce their own core beliefs. So we want team members to have the skills. They're responsible to have the skills to deal with bad behaviors with a reduction, if not an elimination, of the you suck messages.
The previous video where we talked about the different statements team members could use is one tool that you can use there.
And a lot of times it's just as simple as, you had a bad behavior, you made a mistake, but here's how you repair it. Why don't you fix it and we can move on to something good. Once it's fixed, it's a discrete event in the child's brain. Plus the child during that time, while he has that, we've had parents have kids pull weeds, clean the kitchen counter. But as they do something to make up for that poor behavior, then it becomes, okay, that's great, that's fine, let's move on. And it's less of a you suck message and more of a short-term bump in the road.
I'm going to throw my favorite statement on when those events occur. Then the substitute caregiver can say, "Bet you feel good that you just fixed that problem." We want them to internalize, "I feel good that I fixed that problem," which leads to the next point, where we need to help the child always have those reframes that the real battle that the child has is totally internal.
In this part and this part.
From the thinking brain to the emotional brain. Their emotional brains become so activated during the traumatic experiences and stay activated unless we provide different experiences.
At a verbal level, it might sound like, the difference between, you're starting to get agitated, you need to get a handle on yourself, the difference between that, which is basically the words are right, but the other message is you're fighting me. You're
Yeah.
getting on my nerves. And to reframe what you want them to understand is this is not a battle between you and me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a battle between you and you. I'm just here to help you.
Yeah.
You know?
Then the next one that caregivers, substitute caregivers, can be really helpful with is to highlight how working with them or with their parent is beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, oh, so you did this? I bet you felt good. It's nice to be able to work with your mom. You actually get more when you work with your mom than when
I've
you
actually
don't.
used my favorite statement,
Yeah.
my favorite parenting statement in that way.
Yeah.
A kid was telling me, oh, I did this and then mom did that, and right in the middle of the I did this, I stop and I stop the narration. And I go, wait a minute, how'd that work for you? Because I'm thinking that didn't work, and then that changes the whole tone of the and mom did this part of the story,
Mm-hmm.
and allows you to go, yeah. So again, it's it's linking these things together. For the
Well, that leads to the next one that sometimes it's really hard for our kids to be successful and to maintain that success. So we narrate it. We actually say, you were really successful this morning. You got whatever 1, 2, 3 things accomplished. I'm wondering if it's starting to irritate you now, and you're going to have to like mess something up or do something to irritate.
You start to feel like you're going to need to break a rule.
Yeah. So when we pose those, especially, I love Dan Hughes' pace in a playful way, a curious way. Like, I'm wondering if this is what's going to be happening here. I need to prepare for it. Then, one, we can actually reduce some of the behaviors that we could face. And we actually help the kids stay engaged because when we're playful, not confrontive, we're able to stay in the front brain.
Pace is a very powerful tool in a team
Yes.
member if they can use it.
Yes.
And the last one we have here is just this idea of being, as a team member, to be flexible. The child's behaviors cause so much disruption in the parent and the primary caregiver's life that you can't always say, "Don't worry, we'll be over at 10 o'clock."
Right.
Sometimes times change. Junior won't get in the car. Or Junior takes all of his clothes off in the car, and now
Or throws the shoes out the window.
we can't
That's
get in the
always-
car. So team members, you can't be attacking
Right.
when plans change at the last minute.
Yeah.
Has to be very flexible.
Yeah, the timing can change, location can change, activities can change.
Hey, Grandma, I know I was going to bring Junior over today so that for some time with you, but I can't get him in the car. Is there any chance that you could come over here today and spend
Right.
time with him?
Right.
And that flexibility is extremely valuable in a team member.
Yeah. Oh, we've all been faced with that challenge. It's a big one. So, well, here's some ideas for your team and the responsibilities. Again, maintaining safety, and then having that education will help you go forth and be more successful. So, we're looking forward to you watching the third video in the series. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.